Today's show, guys, we're going to call it Intro to Muskie Fishing. And we're going to go through a little of the basics when it comes to hunting big muskies any time of the year, really. One of the biggest factors is your tackle. I see a lot of guys catch them by accident and walleye stuff, and that's fine, you know, by accident. But if you're really going to target these fish, they don't get big by being stupid, and they're a renewable resource that we need to catch and release and let go and keep them in the water. So your tackle is one of your biggest tools when it comes to muskie fishing. And the tackle that I recommend you should use is big rods, big line, big reels, because you got to have something big to throw these big baits. So what I like to use, this rod that I've got here, this is an 8/6 heavy action, and it's got the big grip. I can throw up to a 3-ounce lure with this. It's got plenty of power. I can handle up to 80-pound test braid with it. So it's got everything I need, nice stiff backbone on it. And that's really what you need. These fish are big and powerful. When it comes down to your reel, the reel's where you need to spend your money. This baby will last you a long time if you get a good one. And the reels need to have a big spool capacity, and they need to have good drag systems on them. And they need to be able to handle these big baits. It's a lot of work pulling these double 10 bucktails in, or bulldogs, or big crankbaits. So you got to have a good reel for them. The next piece of the puzzle is your fishing line. You know, when I first started, I thought going lighter is better, just like in walleye fishing. But the fact is most of the time when you're catching muskies, it's all fast action, reaction bites, casting, bringing lures by them really fast. So don't go light. Go 80, 100-pound test, heck, 150 even if you can get it. That's the big thing. I mean, when you set the hook on these fish, you want to be able to get them into the boat, pull them out of these weeds and get them in. And probably the most important part of this whole setup is your leaders. Now, I make my own. I make them short because I like them short and I get better figure 8s out of them. But what they are, the ones I like to use, is this is 200-pound fluorocarbon, and it's crimped together with a swivel on top and a clip on the bottom. It allows me to change lures fast, and I don't have to worry about getting bitten off by every muskie that bites my line. So while I'm up for a minute, I'd like to go over a few of the lure options you got for these fishing these muskies. Now there's 6 main types that I stick with, and there's a variety of each kind. It's not like each one of these is exactly what I've got here. But there's 6 main styles of lures that I stick with and I use. And the first one that I'm going to go over that probably everybody knows is a bucktail. And it's just 2 blades and some skirt. They're a very versatile bait. You can work them fast, slow, you can jig them, you can rip them. And it's probably responsible for 90% of the muskies that are caught every year. It's a great bait. There's a couple different sizes, shapes, colors. You name it, they make it in a bucktail. And that's kind of the main go-to lure for a search bait. You can throw them, you can work them fast, you can work a lot of area quickly with a bucktail. The next option is a crankbait. And crankbaits have been around forever. Everybody's fished with Rapalas before. And these are no different, they're just a bigger size to them. And these, there's jointeds, there's solid bodies, there's wide wobbles, there's tons of different styles of these. But these are also a great search bait. You can work them fast, you can troll them, twitch them, pop them. They can even be worked as topwaters. So that's a great bait option there. So the next one, spinner bait, and this kind of falls into the bucktail pattern, but I keep them separate because it's more of a bass lure in a way. They're just bigger. Spinner baits are a very versatile lure. You can see, like when we do our bass shows, how I fish them in a whole bunch of different ways. Fast, slow, jigging, ripping, bulging on the surface. You can fish them through very, very thick cover where you couldn't on a bucktail. And they're just a great bait for those tough times. The next option is probably the funnest way to catch them, and that's topwaters. Now there's hundreds of different styles of topwaters. There's front props, back props, there's creepers, there's walk the dog baits. It's endless. But the thing is about topwaters, compared to the other baits, is a topwater will call fish in from a long ways away. Like this one here, when you click, the prop actually hits this back hook and it makes a clicking sound, a tuk 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 tuk, along with the sound that the prop will make going through the water. So they're very good searching baits. When fish are active, they'll come from a long ways and you'll never see another hit like you will on a topwater. It's a great bait. Now when we get into fall, or say the fish are a little lethargic and slow, plastics. Now this is small compared to most musky plastics. This is a bulldog. There's swimming baits, there's jigs, there's tubes, it's endless. They're making everything in plastic now, which is good. They work good. They actually hold up a lot better than most people think. You can catch quite a few fish on each lure. But these work great for diving into weed pockets and ripping them out, or working over really deep water or deep weed edges. This is a great bait. The hooks are always nice and sharp on them. And one nice thing about them is even though they're big bodies, when the fish grab them, these bodies squish in. It allows you really to get good hook sets into the fish. And the last bait I'm going to go through is one of my favorite baits to work. They're little glide baits. Now these baits, when they go through the water, they kind of go like this. And all the action is imparted by the fisherman, which it takes a long time to get used to working these baits properly. But once you do, you'll have some of the funnest fishing you can have. Because most of the time, unless it's fall and you're working them deep, most of the time these baits are within the top 2 feet of the water column, and you can see this bait the whole way back to the boat. So you get to see that fish way out there following your bait as it's going like this, or they come out of the weeds and eat it. And this is a great bait when they're active, when they're inactive, when they're nosy. It works all the time. So those are a few of the lure options that'll kind of get you started when you go to the store. Get a couple bucktails, get a couple topwaters, make sure you get some twitch baits, crankbait or 2, and of course some plastics. So get out there and try these and you'll get some nice muskies in your boat. You got your bucktail coming in. You see the fish following. What you want to do is come right up to your leader and then go straight into a big L. And for the easiest way is just do big, wide ovals. Do straightaways, you turn into straightaway, right back in. That's all you want to do. That's the beginning, the basic way. And you should do that until you get really comfortable with it. Because once you master that, the fish alone, that's how I do all my figure eights, and that's how I always catch my fish. Some of the other ways you can do is when your bait's coming in, again, you want to reel right up to your leader, and the same L motion, come right around, and then you can do the actual figure 8, where you just draw a big number 8 in the water. And just keep doing that, and you focus on the fish. Don't look at your lure, you focus on the head of the fish. If the fish is falling back from your lure, say your fish is coming in, and your fish's head's right here, and he's coming in, and as you're doing your figure 8, he's dropping back, then you just slow your figure 8 down. If he's coming in and he's pushing on the bait, speed it up. So you allow the fish to tell you how fast and what level depth to go to trigger that fish at boat side. One of the biggest mistakes I see when I take people out is they're bringing their bait in. They execute the figure 8 perfect. They come in, they do their big wide circle, and most of the time the fish eat either before you're coming in, so they'll eat right here, or they eat on this corner. They almost always eat there. And what you want to do is say that fish comes in and he eats it right there. You want to go back to his tail. You want to try to pull that bait to his tail. Because what that's going to do is that fish comes in, and most of the time they kind of come from the side a little bit and then grab the bait like this, or they come from behind. And if you just pull straight ahead the same direction you're going, you're going to pull that bait right out of their mouth. So by taking that bait when they grab it and you go back to their tail, all those hooks are going right into the back of their mouth, right into the corner. You're going to get a lot better hooking, because then once you hook them at boat side, they go nuts. They're thrashing all over, and it's hard enough to keep them on when you get them hooked good. So always go back to their tail, set to the tail, and hang on. And one last tip about figure 8s, after you get comfortable with it, what you should always do is at the exact same time that you make your L, depress your free spool button and just hold your line with your thumb, just like this. Because what that's going to do, when those, you just hold it down, so every time you let go, a line will come out. Because what that's going to do is when you go around and that fish bites, you set back. If he decides he wants to go deep, you can thumb the line and let line out. That way that fish can pull line out of your thumb. Then you can set, reel back in, get the fish in the net, take your pictures, and you'll have a good day. That's the basics to get you started on muskie fishing. Now obviously there's a ton more to learn, and you're always going to keep learning the more times you go out. But that's enough to kind of get you started and get you going in this great sport. I mean, it's one of my favorite places or fishes to fish for. And around the Perham area here, there's a ton of lakes around here with muskies in them, and a lot with trophy muskies. So get out there, use these tips from today, go get yourself a lunker. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.